Hello, I'm Ashley Thomas. Welcome to my channel Retro88, and yeah, this is the place where I just talk about film, TV and everything geeky. So it's been a while since I last posted, and in that time the world has been engulfed by this pandemic, the coronavirus. I happen to be a key worker, so I've been working flat out, and so I just haven't got around to really doing this. But it's my day off today. Do you know what? I found some time to sit down and talk about The Invisible Man, a film that I didn't get a chance to see in the cinema, but I watched. It was released early on video on demand, and so I had to watch it because I was really looking forward to checking it out. I was really impressed by the trailers, and this is a film that wasn't initially on my radar. I knew that they were going to create it, to make a reboot or remake of The Invisible Man, but then I sort of forgot about it. And then we had the really good trailers that really got across sort of the atmosphere and the eeriness within this film, and I really dug the trailers, though I felt like they showed a little bit too much. And after watching the movie in its entirety, yes, it sort of reaffirmed that. I think the trailers really did show way too much, and there are moments I felt within this movie that sort of lost the impact slightly due to the trailers and what they showed within them. For me, it did. I don't know if it's gonna, have the same result for everyone else, but for me, I wish they wouldn't show so much in these bloody trailers, but I did really like the trailers because it got me excited for this film that I'd actually forgotten about. I'm a big fan of James Whale's 1933 adaptation of the novel written by H.G. Wells. I'm a big fan of James Whale's adaptation. I've never read the novel though by H.G. Wells. So, The Invisible Man, 2020's The Invisible Man. It's directed by Leigh Whannell, and I got really excited when I found out that Leigh Whannell was actually the man directing this version, this adaptation of The Invisible Man, because he directed the very good Upgrade, a science fiction sort of original movie, very sort of small budget film, which I only recently discovered. And if you haven't checked Upgrade out, please do. I really enjoyed it. So when I found out Leigh Whannell was the guy bringing us this new telling, this new adaptation of The Invisible Man, it added to my excitement. So first of all, for me, the one aspect of this film that really carries this film, the one aspect that allows this film to work as well as it does, is the performance by Elizabeth Moss as the main character, Celia. The amount of sort of the emotion that she adds to this movie through her performance. The fact, the way she conveys the threat. Because of her performance, this threat it feels real. And it's because of how she portrays this character. And it's as a result of her performance, it's the reason how she portrays this character is why myself as a viewer watching this film, I cared for the character. I really sort of rooted for the character. Now the other aspect of this movie which I felt is as a result of why this movie works so well, and that is the way Leigh Whannell directed this movie, the way he shot this movie, the way he uses the cameras. I mean, there's a lot of moments within this film where the camera will just sort of stay fixated on a certain part of the scene or in a certain area of the room, and it will just be looking at, say, an empty doorway. But it allows your imagination to just run wild, and you're like, is he there? Is he there? And I love that. It's suggestion by camera, by the way they've sort of positioned the camera and move the camera through the scene, and how it sometimes just sits in one place and just looks into one sort of part of the room. Sort of really, it suggests that something or someone is there, and I love that. And it just shows how such a simple technique really can work so well and add to this sort of really creepy atmosphere that the film does have, and you could tell that by just watching the trailers. And it's all down to the way this film was shot. I love the way this film was shot. In a way, it reminded me a little bit of Predator. There's a couple of moments in Predator which sort of, you get the camera and it sort of fixates and it sort of focuses in on a certain part of the jungle, and you're there sort of looking, wondering, is the Predator there? Is he there? And I love that because it adds to the creepiness. So yeah, and it's almost like he teases you with the camera as well. So it's like there's a couple of moments where you're in first person, so it's almost as if you are the Invisible Man and you're walking through the corridor. So you sort of know where the Invisible Man is, but then you might have a different angle, or the camera will move away, and it's like, okay, so we know the Invisible Man was there, but where is he now? And it's just the way, it was very creative. I thought it was a very simple technique, but very effective, and really helped add to the atmosphere and the eeriness within this movie. And it got your imagination just running. I mean, you are constantly thinking, right, where is he? And it's great. And I think for me, this film was a good example of, no matter how simple a story is, I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns in this movie, and they were twists that you just did not see it coming, and I loved it. It sort of just knocks you off guard, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. And there's a lot of that within this movie. But sort of the general story is quite similar, but it has that sort of really deep undercurrent, that sort of deep theme underneath, which for me was domestic abuse. And then at the same time, you've got that amazing, real, emotional performance by Elizabeth Moss, and just also the really clever, creative, simplistic way that Lee Whannell shot this movie and directed this movie sort of helps really give this movie something. It gives it something more. It adds weight. It gives the viewing experience more depth, even though it has a sort of a simple plot. And that's why I always say a plot can be as simple as you want it to be. It's what you do with that plot then, and how you bring that to life, is how effective it will become and how good a viewing experience it will be. You can have the most simplest plots in the world, and if it's crafted right and brought to life right, and it's got a lot of love behind it, then you get a really good, enjoyable, immersive experience. And there's a lot of experiences like that out there, but then at the same time you do get a basic plot and the film is just shite. So yeah, when it comes to sort of how intense this movie is, and the atmosphere and the eeriness, especially the first, I'd say 40 to 50 minutes, I absolutely loved. It is creepy, it has you at the edge of your seat. And I just really, really enjoyed it. It does start to get a little bit more sort of into the realm of action, I suppose you could say, or a thriller. And sort of you lose that sort of that creepiness and that suspense and intenseness that you built up to. So it's almost like Predator again. I'm going to refer to Predator again because that first half of the movie, it's like, where is it? You can hear it. You know it's there in the jungle. It's stalking these men. And you know the camera often fixates or sort of lingers on a certain part of the scene or in the jungle. And the first part of this movie reminded me of that, because then once the Predator is revealed, it just sort of escalates, and it's great. I loved it, and you obviously end up seeing more of the Invisible Man. Perhaps wanted to see just a little bit less. I did want a little bit more of those creepy, eerie scenes of him stalking Cecilia. So yeah, I wish the movie was made up more of those moments where he's stalking Cecilia. But then as an overall experience, I really, really enjoyed it because, like I said, it's got full of twists, it's got full of turns, and it just constantly has you at the edge of your seat. And again, it's all helped by such a grounded, real performance by Elizabeth Moss, and just the way Lee Whannell brought these characters to life and sort of gave us his take on this story, and it was satisfying. It was a very, very satisfying experience. It's been a long time, I feel, where I've been wrong quite a few times, multiple times throughout the duration of a movie, where I think it's going somewhere, then it goes completely somewhere else, and this movie does that quite a bit, and you just don't see it coming. And there's one really incredibly intense scene within this movie that I felt was destroyed by the trailers, actually, and I don't think it was in the main trailer. I think it was in a lot of the sort of the TV trailers, and it's where Elizabeth Moss throws the paint over the Invisible Man. And it's a moment where I think if it hadn't been in the trailer, really would have added to how intense and how creepy that scene could have been. But because I'd seen it in the trailers, I kind of knew what was coming. She was in the Arctic. You could see that she was in an Arctic in the trailer. And I was like, right, we got this really creepy, cool moment coming up now where she reveals the Invisible Man by throwing the paint. But if we hadn't seen that in the trailer, I think the scene itself would have been a hell of a lot more effective. I loved it anyway. I loved the way it played out. It was, again, it was still creepy. It still retained that atmosphere. But for me, the experience overall was sort of slightly destroyed because of the trailers. I just wish they would not show so much in these trailers. And you know what, this movie is a good example of what you can achieve with such a small budget. Now, from the top of my head, I haven't actually done my research in terms of how much this film was made on. I want to say 8 million. I don't know why, but I got 8 million in my head. But it just shows what you can achieve by just simple techniques. And for me, it's simple anyway. I mean, just from just the way you move a camera, to the way you position a camera, to just a genuine, real performance, a suggestion. It just shows what you can achieve. And even with a sort of a simple plot, but also, like I said, this has got a really deep theme running through it, and which adds to the emotion. Which I believe is domestic abuse, and you're running away from that sort of black hole, basically, and I just like the way it all came together. So yeah, they are my thoughts on The Invisible Man, a film that wasn't initially on my radar. Then we had the really good trailers, which just show too much, and then finally I managed to watch the film, not in the cinemas, unfortunately. But in the comfort of my own home, on video on demand. It's well worth. We paid £15 for it. It's well worth it. I had such a good time watching it. It is intense. It is creepy. It's unfortunate those moments, that first half of the film doesn't go on a little bit longer. But overall, it is an enjoyable experience, carried by Elizabeth Moss and Lee Whannell's tight, creative directing style, and just how he utilizes the cameras throughout this movie is just great. So yeah, The Invisible Man. I will be giving 2020's The Invisible Man an 8 out of 10. So there are my thoughts on The Invisible Man. What do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you want to follow just a geek from Wales who loves to talk about film, TV and everything geeky, then why not hit the subscribe button. My next video is going to be a very quick top 5 films of 2019. I'm very late getting around to doing this list. And it's just because there's so many films that I've yet to watch from 2019. I've been trying to catch a couple of them, and as it is, I haven't found the time to really catch everything that I wanted to check from 2019. But I do have a handful of favourites that I just want to share with like-minded people. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.